Welcome, everyone, to the Creator Spotlight. We have a slamming group of people in here tonight. I'm so excited. I've been trying to get these wonderful people on the stream for a little bit, so I appreciate you joining. Hello, Kate. So I thought we would start by just going around in a circle and everybody just kind of saying who they are and where we can find you, and then we'll kind of get into it a little bit. Um, and we'll start up with Calamity.
Oh, heck. Okay. Hi, I'm Calamity. My pronouns are she, they. You can find me all over the internet as Hey Calamity with 3 Y's at the end. I am a tabletop performer and producer, as well as a dramaturg. And I also help run a little group called Tall Hearts that likes to promote diversity in the tabletop space. That's me.
Very cool. And you've got some exciting stuff we'll dig into in a minute. And let's drop on down and go to Nate.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Nate. I also go by Mean Green Press on itch.io, Instagram, Threads, everywhere except Twitter, where they took my name, and I'm Mean Green Press X. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a hobbyist indie TTRPG designer, creator. I make games about puppets running for mayor, credit cards, escalators, all sorts of weird shit. So yeah, that's me.
And we're going to jump over to Luke.
Hi, everybody. I am Luke. I am an independent tabletop role-playing game publisher, and I like making creative tools for creative people. I specialize in solo tabletop role-playing games that can be used as creative tools for whatever you're working on, whatever creative project you have. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm super excited to be here.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. So I thought we would start a little bit where I'm going to call you out a little bit because I know even Nate just said, hobbyist or whatever. But if you go to Nate's itch, which I dropped in the chat, I mean, I'm going to argue that that's not a hobbyist.
It's a very active hobby.
Thank
Maybe.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
So let's
oh, no, sorry, go
start with
ahead.
just a little bit talking about what makes that distinction, right?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go first.
I did call you
um,
out. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. Honestly, someone probably should call me out. I don't know. I feel like a lot of like the past 2 years of my life has been defined by like doing things that I felt like I like wasn't like made out for. Like I didn't have the traditional like artist route where like I went to school for it. I never really took many art classes. I didn't do writing in college. I was a computer science major. So I think a little bit saying hobbyist is kind of like a safe way of entering into it. But I don't know. I think there is also an empowering aspect to it of saying like, this isn't, at least at this point in my life, this isn't my career. So I feel really freed to do a lot of like really weird shit. Like I said, I have a game about a puppet running for mayor, which I actually recently. It's so funny. I mean, I like recently got a message on Twitter somebody who was like, yeah, I like found a puppet and like played this with my friends, and it was the weirdest thing ever, and we had a great time.
Oh, so
Um,
precious.
but I think it's a lot of fun for me because I do see it as a hobby where, you know, because I'm not worried about it paying my bills, I get to do the things that I want to do, not necessarily what I think an audience would like. And I feel like that's the way that you find people who like the same thing as you, just doing what makes you happy, and then the people that like the same things as you will find it. Um, but that being said, I feel like there's also a lot of imposter syndrome, and I do have a little bit of that in there.
I mean, we're creatives. I think we all have it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I
Yeah.
think you kind of maybe that's the secret sauce of looking at it like it's a hobby, right? So maybe it's a passion project instead of a hobby. I don't know. Um, and then you have Luke, who I love how you own what you do. And not only that, but you were like, everybody needs to have like these notifications when something goes on sale. So you like didn't just do
Oh
the
yeah.
TTRPG. You were just like, I need to know when the one I want is available.
Totally. So you're talking about Deals of Opportunity, the app that you can take your wish lists from DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG and sign up for free on this app, and it'll let you know when anything on your wish list is on sale. And it's really funny, Nate, because I totally get where you're coming from on that, the whole idea of like, well, you call it a hobby, and it's like it gives you more room to just kind of play. I fully get that. And I have, I haven't been in the TTRPG realm as long as a lot of people. I just started at the beginning of the pandemic. And so it very quickly has become like the core of like all of my hobbies. Like I picked up sewing so I can make dice bags for my players. I'm a software developer in my career, so I'm always thinking like, what apps can I make and what like fun digital things can I make? And it's really interesting how the TTRPG space is like, there's something in it for everybody. And I'm always like trying to sell it to people because I just think there's so much you can do with it. Like if you're into acting, if you're into just voice acting, if you're exactly like, there's a little bit of everything you can do, whether you're playing, producing, designing, whether you're just involved in managing or podcast stream. There's just like a little bit of everything. And I think that to me, that is like the beauty of the TTRPG space, is that there's just so much to do. Like whether you're a software development nerd like me, or whether you're really focused into the acting or the designing, or you're like really big on the nitty gritty of game design, there's just a ton of cool stuff you can do. And I think that has been my biggest takeaway so far, is like there's a lot of really cool people doing really wild, cool stuff in the space that you're not seeing anywhere else. And I love that.
Yeah. And that's actually what's prompted me to do this show, because I came in very late and was just blown away by how much awesome was here. And I was like, okay, people need to see all of these people. And like, there's so much collaborative, different collaborations that are happening. And it's so much of it happens like behind the scenes, and you don't see all of that. And you talk about how everything flows together. Calamity, your background covers so many of these areas that we were just talking about. Do you want to jump in a little bit?
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, a lot of it reminds me of theater. How it's like a
Yeah.
bunch of different interests kind of come together to make something happen. And I think that's what drew me to the tabletop space. I'm newer to tabletop in general. Like I didn't even touch a game until about 3 years ago, just because there was nowhere that I felt welcomed to in my life, until I was invited to do an actual play of streamers that had never done actual plays or played tabletop games before. And I've been hooked ever since. But yeah, I do think it is that kind of, there's something for everyone, who kind of wants to get involved. And I think that's just such a nice thing. I come from a game development background as well as a theater background, so even in that, I really did appreciate the kind of like different disciplines coming together to make something happen. But this kind of goes on to such a like wider level, because you need the games to do the actual plays, and then if you want to do them online, you have to have certain aspects to make that happen, and then somebody needs to plan it all, which is when I usually come in as a producer. So yeah, it's well, I mean, you don't have to have a producer, but it does help, I will say. Love your producers, everyone. But yeah, I 100% agree with kind of what everyone else is saying. It's definitely like a really cool collaborative thing that you can kind of find your place in. And I just yeah, that's another reason why I made Telltale Hearts, because I want more people to know about it, and especially more than, no offense to Critical Role and Dimensions 20, but more than Critical Role and Dimensions 20. They're great, but there are so many people out here making so much cool stuff, and like doing all of that work. So yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that for Telltale Heart.
Oh, Telltale, yeah. So it's a little under a year old. And it is a group that I helped put together because on my own social media, I was just sharing a bunch of like people's projects, but then I kept seeing, casts that weren't very diverse, and then the argument was, oh well, I don't know any of those people, like I don't know anybody in the space that's like, you know not a cishet white dude, which is fine, but I know that there's other people out there, and I was constantly sharing them, so I'm like, why don't I dedicate an entire space to sharing like all the other people out there? Because I think that one of the best ways that you can, and we can get into this a little bit more later, but that can make your tables
This is
diverse
a whole nother
consuming the
episode,
content.
but we can do it here too.
There.
You're coming back.
All right, we're talking about
Yeah.
make sure you consume the content of diverse creators. Don't just invite them onto your thing and be like, look, we had them for this one thing, but that's a rant. I can have another.
Yeah, it's not token. And I can say, so I've only been in the TTRPG space since October of last year, so brand spanking new, and it was totally by accident. I saw somebody was playing a game, and I thought I didn't even think it was streaming, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then they said, hey, it's going to be streamed, is that okay? And I was like, sure. Let's do it. And then I was like, you cannot get rid of me. When can I play again? So now I'm just like, I need to learn to say no, because I don't have as much time as I think. But I started the channel after adamantly refusing. I'm not going to do a Twitch channel. I'm not going to have a Discord. I'm not going to do any of those things. I don't want it. And then I was like, okay, sure, I'll do a Discord and a Twitch channel, because I wanted to say stuff and and have people on and have these conversations. But I'd only been doing it for about 2 months, maybe not even. I think it was a month and a half, and it was a very white cast. I'm bi plus, so I check that in the neurospicy bucket, you know. But I also don't look like that. So, I look like a cis white female. But I was just like, you play a game with your friends. I started to kind of just do stuff online, right? And then I got called out on it, and I stopped, I paused, and I actually shut the channel down for an entire month. And I said, okay, this needs to be done right. If I'm going to do this, it needs to be done right. And then I started doing the work on my own to like reach out, and I have a long way to go, and the channel has a long way to go. But I kind of want to call people out. If you are producing just all white content, just stop. Offer the opportunity. And like you said, more so than that, go above and beyond. And I think for me, that was like again, we'll have another show and we'll talk all through this, but that was the big takeaway for me that I wanted to kind of share for everybody. Is it's about meeting new people and adding more awesome into your space, into your life, and into your space. It's not checking a box. And I think, I wasn't thinking of it that way, but I also wasn't doing the work for it to not be that way. And that was the takeaway for me. So yeah, so if you're out there, I would encourage you to reach out. I didn't know Calamity. I just had to reach out, and now we know each other. But like, before that, like it was just been happenstance. So while we're talking about that, you just did a Star Wars last night. Um, uh, that was a full BIPOC cast, which was amazing. And I'd never seen Star Wars done on stream. Um, but you're jumping around doing a lot of different things. So you're there, and you worked with Aaron, and Ink Got Crit, Crit nominated.
Yes,
Aaron
nominated.
So yeah, do you want to talk about that for a little bit, and then I'll let you stop talking.
No, you're fine. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of ever since getting into the space bounced around to a bunch of different places, and I still kind of like bounce around a lot. The one that I'm doing with Aaron My Laundry, who is crit nominated, is they're running Philly by Night, which is a Vampire the Masquerade game set in Philly, and I play in the vignettes as one of the characters, Annalie, who is the Toreador Primogen. This was my first ever Vampire the Masquerade campaign, but I'd always wanted to play one. So when Aetherius, who is one of the kind of like main cast members, asked me to be part of like this lore from his backstory coming into the game for these vignettes, I was like, yeah, I'm honored. And it's a blast every single time. That cast is incredible. The people that I get to play with are just so just in like they're really great at being like in depth and in character, but they're also really great, and Aaron facilitates this, at like checking in and making sure everyone feels safe. And that's where I think the best performance can come from, is safety. So I just always have a great time over there. I very much enjoy myself.
Amazing. And that safety, let's talk about that for a little bit, because even as a game designer, as you're putting together these, hobby games that you're throwing out there, both of you can talk to this too. Like when you're producing this content, how much of the players and how they feel at the table, um, and just that, lines and veils and things like that, how much of that kind of plays into it when you're designing?
Go for it, Nate.
Okay.
You got this.
Well, I mean, as I'm sure you would agree, Shad, I feel like TTRPGs are like very therapeutic. I feel like even when you're not cognizant of it, a lot from our lives are being like drawn forth in our characters. And I feel like while that can be very healing, it also kind of opens up a space where if there isn't those safety precautions, those safety measures, you could be triggering other players. You might feel comfortable sharing something that other players might not be comfortable with hearing in the moment. So I think, I mean, whenever I make a game, I always put something in there about safety measures, about lines of veils, stuff like that. I definitely could be doing more. Um, but uh, I feel like that is definitely a must when it comes to TTRPGs, just because even if you're not aware of it, you could be triggering other players because, I mean, we're human. When something in a game, strikes a chord in us, we're naturally drawn to like, act it out as comfortable as we feel. But other people at the table, you need to be aware of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I fully agree. I think it's super important as you're designing an experience to have that thought. It's a little weird from my perspective making mostly solo games, because then you're not necessarily running afoul of other people's discomforts or level of comfort. It's a little bit of a different landscape, but I still think it's important to take into consideration even in a solo experience, because like you said, Nate, it's something where you are maybe not even consciously, but you're dredging through your psyche and pulling out this creativity. I think any creative space encourages that, because to be creative, you have to pull from yourself. But especially in a very collaborative or a very creative environment, you dig deep, sometimes not even realizing that you're doing it. And the things that you may be going into a game feeling very comfortable with, that may shift, and you may be very uncomfortable with something partway through. And being in an environment with people and with a game that have the flexibility to understand that, and the caring to understand that, it's hard when I see a lot of people talking about like, how do I talk about this, and how do I deal with these lines and veils? We didn't cover this in session 0. If you're with a good group of people, hopefully people are going to understand and say, great, I understand, let's go ahead and fade to black, or let's stop the action and have a conversation about it, or whatever that looks like. I think both in the creation of the game to create space for that, but also in the creation of a group where you're going to be either streaming or just playing like a home game, having that space is really important to put the brakes on for a second and say, hey, wait a minute, like I didn't realize I was going to be uncomfortable with this, but whoa, I don't want to talk about this anymore for whatever reason. Or, I need to take a step away from this for a second. And having that flexibility is really important. I think it's a really great thing for game designers to keep in mind. And I definitely, like you, Nate, I feel like I could be more conscious of that in creating my games, even with solo games, and having resources there for, hey, maybe you're going to broach a topic that is uncomfortable, and here's, be conscious of that and give yourself the grace to maybe just stop or step away, or put this game down and go think about it a little bit, or put this game down and just don't think about it anymore if you don't need to, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I was gonna pretty much say what you were just saying. Like, it's the same level of checking in, it's just done differently. And I think even when it's a solo game, it's bringing up things that you may not expect, because you're taking them on a little bit of a journey. So, so they might be
That's the name of
coming
my game
across
journey.
something.
Hence the enjoyment of that pun.
I had a hunch. I like that.
We gotta love the puns, right? But it may bring something up for them. And so I guess, like, kind of, and I struggle with this too. And I don't have any TTRPGs out. I've written some stuff, but I don't have a game out. And I'm working on that. And that's been part of my challenge, because I'm actually going to specifically target it as wellness. So, we're actually working on and supporting mental health and all of that. Um, and it's a little bit of a struggle to know how much to put in and where to put those checks. And, do you just slap a warning label on the front? Do you put all of the tools in? How much are tool at what? Where does the responsibility lie? Where does it stop? Um, and so I kind of go back to, I want to just be a hobbyist, you know, because it's a little bit easier. Um, but yeah, I think in general, for the checks and balances, there's so many different ways. And for me, playing in person, I didn't have anybody. I didn't even know what lines and veils were. I didn't have anybody do it in a session. It wasn't until I started playing online that the quality of gaming leveled up, and people put more into it. There was more responsibility taken. There was more care and effort. It was more community based, which is really surprising to me, because it's online instead of I'm actually right in front of you. Um, but I play both in person and online. And outside of the people that have now become friends, I think in general, there's less care in the in-person stuff. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just felt like it's one of those that surprised me, as I was kind of going through.
Well, and it's interesting too, because playing online, it opens the doors. Certainly, if you're mindful to it and about who you're engaging with and people you're connecting with, it opens the doors to interacting with a huge range of people that you would never get to interact with if you're only playing in person. I play online only. I've only ever played one session of a game in person, an Adventures League game, and I was looking for people that I could make connections with and make friends over time, and ended up falling into a group online that really fits that bill. And then through my exposure in the TTRPG space, I've met and interacted with and collaborated with people I never would have met otherwise. And I think that that's a really powerful piece of that. What you're talking about, Shannon, is that online space. We've all heard a lot of horror stories of people that don't have that same level of care and understanding and
Sure.
and offering that space to play safely. But I think that the overwhelming number of people that I've interacted with do care about that stuff. Maybe not, no one always know how to navigate it, and we're all inexpert at that, but I think the ability to have access to that wider range of people and experiences and stories is a huge benefit, both personally and within gameplay. I just think there's lots of opportunities there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always floored by who I'm playing with and who I'm interacting with. We're doing a Goose Poops Creator Coop. I can't speak today. And it's an international version. I was like, how is this even happening right now? You know, but it's so cool to be able to have these connections. Like they're right next door, even though, you know, they're 6 hour difference, you know, away. So I don't know. I think that's really cool. I'm gonna throw a question at everybody that comes in from Kate the Great Cosplays. Uh, what is something you think TTRPGs do well that other mediums struggle with?
I do think, due to the nature of the actual play space specifically being newer, I do think there is more of a focus on kind of the stuff we've been talking for, safety and diversity. Um, there are a lot more people aware of it, like from the jump, and integrating those into the groups they set up, into the games they create, which I think is really, really nice. Now, are there people out there that aren't really doing that? Sure, but what you're seeing is a lot of those people like called out and, you know, not being you know, like people are being kind of like called out more, which I know that like everyone's like, oh, everyone's just going after people. No, like I think wanting to keep the space safe and wanting to keep it from, you know, doing things that we've seen in film and game development and everything else, I think it's, you know, good, that people are, you know, stepping up and asking those questions. Accessibility too has been a really, really big one that I've noticed. Um, just the nature of it is even more accessible because it is online and more people can participate that wouldn't be able to. And like you said, like play together. So I would say like
Yeah.
those things are, the issues are still there, but people are more aware of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, there always will be there, I think. But, you know, I think holding people accountable, you know, for what they're doing, whatever their choices are, just own what your choice is. Don't hide behind something, for sure.
Mm.
It's kind of fascinating, right? Because over the last like 4 or 5 years, we've watched the creation and been part of, some of us, the creation of like a whole new medium, like a whole new type of entertainment that is not something. If you went back 10 years and been like, you're going to spend however many hours watching a season of Critical Role, as an example, like how 300 something episodes in a season, they're all 4 hours long. I watched the entirety of campaign 2, and I'm a little bit horrified at the number of hours that is. Granted, just having it on at work helps,
I've
but
watched them all.
my goodness, that's a lot of time spending watching people. My husband calls it a fantasy conference call, because it's people on video
I'm stealing that.
playing D&D together, and it's like that never would have happened before. And it's so cool because, like you were saying, Calamity, it's an opportunity to go into it with open eyes and clarity to the opportunities to grow both within this specific kind of niche, but also how to like take those lessons people are learning here with them to other media. And I think while TTRPGs themselves have an amazing opportunity and ability to tell collaborative stories that you don't necessarily see elsewhere, and these live evolving stories that I've never been part of before being in a TTRPG, and I think it's the coolest thing. You learn more about your friends in TTRPGs than you ever would elsewhere. But the ability to take these lessons of this brand new kind of, I guess, medium, for lack of a better word, and take those elsewhere, and to allow them to kind of propagate outside of just this, is a huge opportunity. And it's a place where people can be hopefully called out and be open to what they're being called out about. I think that there is definitely many ways to handle that, and I think there are,
For sure.
as long as people are coming at it from the perspective of like, okay, I hear you, you're telling me something that clearly has a basis in something real, let me think about it, that can only have the opportunity to be impactful in the rest of everything else that you interact with too, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. For for me, the calling out, like you said, it has to come from a place of love, but there's
Mhm.
also lifetimes of doing things you don't even know you're doing incorrectly. And
Yeah.
that's going to take the rest of a lifetime to unlearn. So for myself, that was a big thing that I had to sit with for a little bit, because I was like, how can this be happening? Like, you know, I didn't look at myself as being part of the problem. Uh, but I was, because I didn't actively do something that I should have been doing, you know? So it comes to allowing yourself to be okay with have not being okay at some point, you
Hmm.
know, and then just, giving yourself some room to grow. Um, I also want to get in, just because it's relevant. Kate asked also, what is the best way to approach BIPOC creators and bring diversity to our spaces without tokenizing? And we don't have to, answer that if you don't want to, but I thought it's a good question. And I feel like it's a good one for a different show as well. Like, we can't talk about this too much.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's a topic that can be talked about and should be talked about often.
Absolutely. What what's interesting for me too, um, is there's this part of me that, like, I want Calamity on the stream to talk about what Calamity is doing and everything in Calamity's life that has nothing to do with the fact that she's a BIPOC creator. So I also don't want to put Calamity in a position where that's a thing. I want to just have a conversation about what kind of ice cream we like.
That's valid. Just to kind of answer it in a like not long-winded way, start consuming the content of those creators. Start looking into things like Transplaner, which is an excellent group. Other Center Studios, if you're into like horror, there's so many groups out there that are doing so many cool things with BIPOC creators. And, you know, if you really want to find those people, don't just Google tabletop, and then look for somebody who's a person of color and then be like, okay, actually look into what they do and
Yeah,
consume the media that they create.
absolutely. Need to get my water. Nate, did you want to
Hydrate.
answer the original question at all? I kind of cut you off on there, I realized.
Oh no, you're all good. I mean, I'm not really in actual plays, so I feel like I'm kind of out of my depths here. Um
You are not. You are a part of the community. Speaking of community, I just want to call out the TTRPG Collective a little bit, because that for me, and Erin was mentioned earlier, actually, it's her Discord server. That was a big part of me being comfortable in the space. And I think for anybody that's kind of looking to either start jumping in, or you're in here but you're not really connecting, or you've got stuff coming from all over the place and you're not sure where to settle. Like, I don't even know how many Discords I'm in right now. um, the TTRPG Collective is kind of like my go-to spot. Like, that's home base. Even I have my
Hmm.
own server, it's not home base.
No,
I
I definitely agree. Um, that I can't answer because
Yeah,
right after I made my first TTRPG game, when I was still like in the mode of like, do I market this? Like, what do I do with this? Is this like a fun thing? Is this a pattern? What is this? I found the TTRPG Collective, and I think this was the first place that I shared my work anywhere, like even beyond like my friend group. And it is such a good, to your point, it's such a good starting place because I mean, like, what does it have? Like 700, over 700 people right now. I mean,
Crap
like, you're
ton.
bound to find people that are interested in the exact same thing as you, whether it's making TTRPGs, playing in them on stream or off stream, whether you just do commissions and you like drawing people's characters, whether you like just world building, like there are people there right now that are like 100% interested in the same things as you are. So I think that's a good starting place for people that are still calling themselves hobbyists like me.
I'm gonna make a sticker for you.
Yeah, I will wear it with pride.
I can't say enough good things about the TTRPG collective. Like I'm not normally one to like gush about online communities. I've been online for like 20 years now. I've been on social for like 15. And it's very rare that I found like a place where you join and then you spend like a day like, interacting with people. And I've already made people I would call friends there. And it's very it's such a wide range of people from all over the world that are all interested in so many facets of this thing, kind of like what I was saying before, where there's any TTRPGs can encapsulate such a huge variety of creativity. There's somebody there that is interested in what you're interested in, and there's even an accountability group now that's actually gotten me working on my next game again, and it's a great group. It's a good group.
Yeah, for sure. The accountability section is legit.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. Let's take a minute and talk about what you've got coming up. We're talking about accountability. So if you want to roll into accountability for what?
Who's gonna go first?
What are you working on?
I think you should go first since you brought it
Yeah,
up.
I'll start because I need to pull up my sheet of things I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, I have one main thing that's in the kind of pipeline right now, which is called Stargazer. And my main game that I've released so far is called Journey, which is a solo world building game that puts you in the shoes of somebody exploring your fictional world, so you can zoom in on things and get new inspiration to take back with you to your work. And Stargazer is, I've been kind of tongue in cheek calling it Journey for Characters, where it walks you through a kind of a creative process where you're using constellations and reading the stars to kind of zoom in on answering different questions and approaching different topics about a character, whether that's for a tabletop role-playing game, whether that's for a novel. I've had people that are working on screenplays using Journey and that are very interested in getting their hands on Stargazer now. And so it's going to be, I think, a fun thing. Other than working on I have a couple other little game projects that are a little bit smaller in scope in the pipeline, but Stargazer is definitely kind of the next big thing that I'm working on. I'm very glad. I meant to release it in 2023, and that didn't happen. But 2024 is just as good, right? It's it's fine.
It wasn't time.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't in the
wasn't
stars.
Time. Yeah, there you go.
As an astrologist, I can't wait to get my hands on this.
Yeah, it's been really fun to make. The TTRPG Collective Accountability Group kind of supercharged me, getting pulling out all my notes for it and getting I'd already run it through a few rounds of playtesting, and it really just had to design the book. I scrapped it and I started almost basically from scratch and rebuilt the entire concept and all the mechanics, and it's going to be now part of a bigger series. I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait to get it out. Now if I could just finish writing the book.
Yeah, well, see, it wasn't in the stars then, but the sky's doing a lot right now, so it sounds like it's helping.
Been very active.
Absolutely. Nate, you want to jump in?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say there's two things that I'm going to be working on very soon. Now that I've sort of settled in my new life over here in Pennsylvania. One, I'm going to be revisiting You Are Here, which is my PBTA inspired infinite mall crawl game. I put that out in, God, I think it's September. And to my shock, people have been playing it. So I've gotten a lot of great feedback. So I'm telling myself that I'm going to be making an update end of summer, maybe mid fall. So there's that. But I've also really wanted to get into another project I was working on for a game jam where you play. It's called Beyond the Trees, where you play with tarot cards on your floor, and each time you draw a card, you lay them end to end. And as you build this path throughout your home, you're journaling the path through the woods to go confront the old gods with a wish to fix your life, basically. I've been putting that off for so long because the thing about making a tarot game is that you have to make so much content for 78 cards.
Yep.
But that's something that I'm really like. I just want to get it done. Maybe I do need the accountability thread for that one. But those are
Both
what
of
I.
those sound super cool, by the way. Like the You Are
Thank
Here
you.
is such a cool game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I have read through it, and it's really, really cool.
Thank you.
So, as someone who likes to pivot when needed, there are 78 cards, but you could also just do Major Arcana.
That's true. But the thing is, I've already done Major Arcana, and then Swords, and I think Cups. I forget which ones I worked on, but I'm already halfway there through the Minor Arcana, so I just got to close the gap now.
Nice motivation. I love it. Do you want to tell a little bit about your fabulous little mall crawl?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so this was my first TTRPG like I've ever made. I kind of just went big or went home. Um, it came off of like a couple of sessions of Absurdia, which is also a very great PBTA game. Um, it's inspired by like Welcome to Night Vale and Gravity Falls, and sort of following a story of people in a very odd town. And after coming off of like 3 years of like just playing Monster of the Week, which I love Monster of the Week, but by the tail end of that, I was so tired of serious stories. I wanted something that was just so self-indulgently goofy. And I don't know, I always had this thing when I was a kid where I was fascinated by the concept of the mall, but as a kid who did not grow up wealthy, I just never liked going to the mall. So I just really wanted to make something inspired, sort of like Infinity Train, where it's you and a bunch of people exploring this extra dimensional, infinite shopping mall where everything is on sale, nothing makes sense, and anything can happen around the corner. And it's just been a fun time. I think like it is truly just like a passion project to spend a day working on a playbook that is just a talking object.
It's fantastic. The creation
Yeah.
process is so great. I have not played your game yet. It's on my list. It's one of the thousands on my list right now. It's at the top though. But I have played a version of that idea. I was in a campaign where we were actually going through the 7 levels of hell, and one of them was a shopping mall. But it was a blast. It was my
That's
favorite one of
amazing.
all the things that we did. Yeah.
There's so much good cultural commentary to be had in a shopping
Yes.
mall too. Like you can lampoon so many parts of society through the lens of a shopping mall, and I love that.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody messaged me that that they did a one shot, and most of it was in a Hot Topic.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah. I'd like to do one in a Spencer's too. That would be wild.
Yeah.
The Spencers versus Hot Topic war.
I think
Someone
we
write
should
that
do
down.
that.
Wild.
I love the chaos. It's beautiful. Calamity, do you have your list? You went and recruit your
I've
list. You have so much going on right
got
now.
it. Yeah, I'm hopping around a couple different things. I have been on a bit of a semi hiatus for myself and a kind of a more official hiatus for like creating more stuff with Telltale, just due to mental health things, but I am looking into like start getting back into having more actual plays on there and um, kind of doing more to promote like indie TTRPGs and like smaller games. So we've been kind of brainstorming on ways to kind of do that and stream because we did a Star Wars event back in May for May the 4th. And we ended up getting affiliate from just that like 3-day event. So we're like, maybe we should stream. Maybe we should do something about that. So we're brainstorming ways to kind of like do more of that as well.
That's amazing. Congrats.
But me, thank you. Yeah, it was such a fun time. Like how many games? I think it was 12 different Star Wars games over the course of 3 days. Yeah, it was
How cool. Was it a
beautiful.
charity stream?
All by podcasts. Yes, we raised. It was for Black Girls Code, and we raised, I want to say, $1,570, I think.
Beautiful.
So it was really fun. It was really, really cool. But for things I'm going to be in, there is a Tales of the Valiant game that will be coming out that April Reagan is working on that I'm going to be involved in. Other Cider Studios is doing the Melancholy We Weave, which is using the Quietus system, and it's a bunch of different like vignettes using that system. So if you like horror, that's something else I'm going to be part of. I'm looking through and seeing what I can actually talk about.
I know, right? So many little
I'm
secrets.
like, what's announced? I am planning to go to PAX U. So if you're going to be there, I will see you
Same.
there. Yay! I had to miss Gen Con last minute and I was so sad about it. So I'm like gearing up, especially kind of with my own stuff, because I've kind of been thinking of what I want to do more so outside of just like performance and production. So I have been working on learning some systems and maybe like writing some homebrew and dabbling in because I do have a background in writing, so I kind of want to use that to kind of dabble in some design work. I have done some writing for tabletop games such as Emerald Templars, and I did a little bit for Eldritch Automata. Sorry.
Words
That
are
word
hard.
just would not work with me.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed like lore writing for that. So I think I kind of want to get back into that again. Yeah, other than
Emerald
that,
Templars is so cool, by the way. I think that's awesome that you were involved in that. I think that was one of the
Yes.
coolest Kickstarters I got to support. It was very cool.
It was so fun to be a part of it. Like there are so many talented people on that team. Like I just wrote one little area and I was just honored with my little area, but there is just so much gorgeous work in it. I'm also in there as one of the goddesses.
Oh,
One
cool.
of the goddesses was modeled after
Oh, wow,
me.
that's super cool.
Yeah, I forget her name, but she's the goddess of death. And I was like, yeah, I like that.
That's
I'm gonna have to go flip through my copy now and see if I can
Yeah.
get that one.
Yeah,
And you have to bring it to one event that you're all at together, so you can get the.
Oh
autograph.
yeah, I can definitely bring it with me. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love when the worlds collide.
I love when the worlds collide. Yeah, other than that, I'm working with a group called Twisted Fates, which is doing a bunch of incredible work. They have a Candela show that's been going on for a bit. They just announced a Dino Crisis show, which I love dinosaurs. I'm a co-producer for them, so I'm not performing in anything on there. I'm just kind of like helping things get started in the background. I do have something that I'm working on that I'm kind of be a little more hands-on with, but that's going to be announced more end of the year. So yeah, that's everything. I think I caught everything.
That's a lot. It's okay. And I just wanted to mention too, PBTA was said that's powered by the apocalypse. For those of you who maybe didn't know what that was, because I did have to ask that at one point. Not today. Today I knew it.
Today you got
But
to
yeah.
share.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So many
and on
acronyms.
that note too, if you are playing with someone or you're like, just getting into this whole side of things and you don't know, just ask questions. Um, in Discord. Threads is pretty happening too. I really love it over there. It's actually the only social media that I am using right now. I show up at the other ones every once in a while, but it feels more like, I don't know, a coffee shop or something.
Yeah, Threads, TTRPG Threads is pretty stellar, I will say. I'm very much like you, Shannon. I think Threads, I post on like Instagram and TikTok and I put things up there sometimes, but Threads is like where I spend my time.
Yeah, like I'm choosing to be there. I'm like, okay, what are you all doing today? Pop in and say. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add or promote or anything like that before I call this a day?
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Luke, what pin are you wearing today?
Oh, so I've been doing this silly little series of my different enamel pins. Today's I've done a video on this one, but it's my little Dragon's Hoard treasure pin, a little sword in it. And I thought it was thematically appropriate for the day.
Nice.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. All right, just one last question. Favorite dessert?
Come on. Favorite dessert? Desserts are the
That's
best.
so hard.
I would say right now, I think my favorite dessert is probably a good homemade flan. I've been craving it. My husband and I were learning to make flan at home in the last few months, and I've
I'm
been
sorry,
thinking like
what?
maybe I need to make another flan. So good.
You're hanging out at home making flan.
I mean,
I'm
where
so
else would I go
impressed.
make flan?
I wish.
I mean, I never.
Right?
I would order flan.
It's not
I'm
that
so
hard.
impressed by
I mean,
you right now.
it's not the easiest thing. You kind of got to get the technique of making the caramel, but it's the caramelized sugar. But it's not so hard. It's pretty good, pretty easy. Chocolate flan is pretty good too, although I haven't gotten that one down yet.
All right, so we've got flan.
I don't know. Is it too on the nose to say like a New York style like cheesecake with like the big strawberry on top? I feel like that's just a class. Are there
Listen,
cheese?
you are
Are there
so
cheesecake
passionate about
haters
the
in the
answer.
call right now?
Absolutely not. I love cheesecake.
Oh, no, I
okay.
love cheesecake. No, I was just like, yes. Like,
Yeah, you're
Oh,
asking if
I
it was
thought
too
those
on the
were
nose, and I
shapes
was
of
like,
disagreement.
oh no, like I was
Okay.
like imagining a cheesecake. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
Okay.
gotten to like
You guys
remembering what
scared
it's like
me
to eat
for a
cheesecake.
second. Okay, I'm glad that
That's
I'm
in the
among
lies
friends
and
then.
veils. We can't talk about that. No cheesecake
Yeah,
on this episode.
No hating on cheesecake.
No.
I've been watching rewatching Golden Girls recently, and so I feel like cheesecake
my
has
heart.
been on my brain as well.
Oh my god, such a good show.
Right? Love the classics.
Okay, so I can't pick a favorite because that just depends on my mood. But I'm gonna go with my newest discovered
Okay, I like it.
dessert that I like. So as a lactose intolerant person who's been eating ice cream for way too long, it should probably not eat it as much as they do. I tried sherbet for the first time, and it was
You tried
so
what?
good.
Sherbet?
Mango sherbet. It was so
Yum.
delicious. Yeah, mango specifically. Yeah, I had it for my birthday, and it was so good. I don't know if it's like this particular kind that was so good. It was at this like restaurant, but I inhaled that thing. It was delicious. But I also really like mangoes. Big mango.
Yeah, mangoes to me are like a gift from the gods.
I can eat a mango for dessert.
They were like, here.
As you
when I
should.
eat my mango, I'm like, don't even talk to me right now.
Yeah, so good. I had never eaten a fresh mango until I think earlier this year. My mother-in-law brought some home, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll have some fresh mango. I like the taste of mango, and I was just like heart eyes, like so good.
Were you sad a little bit at your loss of mango prior to that moment in your life?
Yeah.
No, I've eaten many good things in my lifetime, and so I feel like I've filled up
That's
the
a whole
the
nother
open,
episode.
the void. But no, it was very mango sour. I never had mango sherbet before, so that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I probably
Is it
haven't
sorbet
had
or
it as good
sherbet?
as
I
the
don't
first-
actually know which one it is.
I
I
think
think
probably
they're
had mango
technically
sorbet.
different.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what the difference is.
I think they're technically different. This was the one that had no dairy.
Does sherbet
I
have
don't think
dairy in
there's
it
dairy.
then? I think that might be
I don't
it.
think there's
I don't
dairy
know.
in either, but I feel like Nate is looking that up right now.
I am. Do we want to know the answer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Google has provided to me. Apparently, sherbet contains dairy.
I do. I want to know the answer.
Yeah, sherbet
Of
contains
course.
dairy, but sorbet has no dairy. So actually, you should be having sorbet.
Sorbet.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
had sorbet.
Okay.
I had sorbet. I had the one that wasn't dairy, but I intermixed the terms.
That's
No,
okay.
that's
I
such a
would
good
do the
pick.
same thing.
That's
So
dyslexia for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Apparently, Curly also had that flipped in his head. So we're just going to call that a common thing. The sorbet sherbet flip.
Now we know. Thank
Yeah.
you, Nate.
Yeah, sorbet is amazing. Also, I would recommend if you are a chocolate lover,
So
you can do chocolate and black raspberry vegan gelato together.
sounds like
That
a good
sounds
combo.
Awesome.
Chef's kiss.
good. That
I do
sounds
not make it
delicious. Yeah. Never had gelato.
because I don't make anything.
You
But
don't
We,
make your own gelato?
I know, right?
How could
We
you?
bought one of those
make
Ninja
so few
creamies
things.
a few months ago, and all I've been looking up and finding on TikTok, it's all it's showing me now is Ninja creamy recipes. You know, I'm not making any of them, but they all look great. Supposedly,
Yeah.
you can make a really good like sherbet in the thing. You just throw a bunch of frozen fruit in it and let it do its thing. But I'm gonna have to.
I bought one
try,
of those things that
raspberry one.
dehydrates, and I'm planning to do some fruit in there. That's about my speed.
Mm.
I am so hungry now, y'all.
Yeah, I just
My
ate
sweet
right
tooth is
before
on,
this, and
like,
I'm
10.
starving now.
Yeah, right. Well, and Luke just came right from
Time
work.
for dessert.
Okay, this is how
Oh,
much
no.
I appreciate y'all. You came. We've got, not feeling goods and coming from works and all that kind of stuff, and I have so much love for all of you. Thank you so
Happy to
much.
be here.
Yeah, no, this is a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and on that note, when this is done, it's gonna go to YouTube and it'll have all the links and stuff. So I mean, not today when it's done, but at some point. And so if you missed any of that we've talked about, you can grab the links and stuff in our YouTube when it goes up as well. Sorbet, this is from the chat. Sorbet, non-dairy frozen fruit dessert. Sore, S-O-R-E, bae, B-A-E, your significant other who's tired from working out. Seems like a good place to end it.
I have nothing left to say. Yeah.
There's no going up from there.
That's the mic
That's so
drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, mic drop. All right, thank you all for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
Appreciate
you.
y'all.
you.
Thank you.